Bartering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. In the room the women come and go.
Stengel, Artistic Director at Eye of the Storm Theater. Artist Kjersti Monson talks art and art world. Screenwriter James Byrne takes you on a journey from page to screen. And Linda Andrews and Susana Tambutti bring you the latest word on the Zenon Dance Company. Tango on, Artifacts is next.
Hello and welcome to the May edition of Artifacts. I'm Phill Lindsay.
And I'm Zahn. And in our news segment today, I'm going to start out with a brief legislative update. The film industry's revolving loan fund did not make it through this year's session. The fund appropriation was a $3.3 million of a $38 million economic development bill that was vetoed by Governor Carlson. Industry supporters are developing strategies for bringing this bill along with 3 others back to the legislature next year.
Now, the Minneapolis Institute of Arts this month opens a gallery specializing in art from the artistic and religious traditions of the Jewish culture. The Harold and Mickey Smith Gallery of Jewish Arts and Culture opens May 17th, featuring Hanukkah lamps, spice boxes, menorahs, calligraphy, textiles, photos, and prints and drawings. It's on the 3rd floor in the west wing of the museum, and by the way, it'll be one of only 2 such galleries in the United States, only 3 in North America.
2 Twin Cities film production equipment rental firms, Lighthouse and Film Corps, recently merged under the name Lighthouse. The combined firm will have 17 employees. This merger follows another recent combination of forces. Jensen Video and IVL formed Jensen Media Group earlier this spring.
Loyal Artifacts viewers may recall artist Reggie Anderson. He was a guest on last year's April program. In that interview, we showed a clip about Anderson by Terry Myers. She did a documentary called Not a Nickel's Worth of Doubt. Her film recently was picked as the 3rd annual winner of the D.L. Mabry Award, which honors outstanding work by a Minnesota filmmaker. Now, really loyal Artifacts viewers may recall that D.L. Mabry himself was on our show back in May of 1992.
Laura Milan is now the former film liaison for the city of St. Paul. She recently accepted a new job, and while no formal decision has yet been made as to how to fill the film coordinator position in St. Paul, city services will be provided, and at some point a new film coordinator will be hired.
Now, have you heard about the Mozart effect? Research indicates that listening to Mozart's Sonata for 2 pianos boosts the IQ of students. Just 10 minutes of the sonata prior to an IQ exam lifted a group of college students' scores about 10 points each. I know our camera people are getting excited right about now. The theory is that the music stimulates neural connections in the brain, and in preschoolers the stimulation is thought to lead to permanent wiring. Now, by the time we get to college age, apparently, the Mozart effect appears to be temporary. After a while, the college age IQs went back to where they were before Mozart. Now, when asked for his thoughts about this phenomenon, a lawyer friend of mine who's an Ozzy Osbourne fan pleaded ignorance.
Well, Phil will be right back with his first guest, Kjersti Stengel from Eye in the Storm Theater.
Yes, but first, our Artifacts giveaway. Follow the giveaway instructions, and believe me, you could be a big winner.
But you must follow the instructions, or else the giveaway goes to someone less deserving than you. And that would not be fair to you, eh?
No, this is true. We're very strict here at Artifacts. So watch carefully and stay tuned for Kjersti Stengel in 30 seconds.
Come now for your chance to win 2 tickets to Diane Wagner and the Band of Jesuits, June 22nd at the Fine Line Music Cafe in downtown Minneapolis.
This band has played all around town to rave reviews. Star Tribune music columnist Jim Myers said, "This folk rocker is a welcome new voice on the local scene."
It'll be a great evening of roots rock with down-to-earth vocals and catchy melodies.
Just call the City Cable 34 hotline, 673-2234. Leave your name, address, and phone number on the answering machine.
And you could win 2 tickets to Diane Wagner and the Band of Jesuits, June 22nd at the Fine Line.
It's the Artifacts giveaway for May. What a deal!
Well, that should be some good music down at the Fine Line, so call in to the Artifacts hotline. My first guest is the artistic director of Eye of the Storm Theater, Kjersti Stengel.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
I wanted to have you on the show for a long time because you do some neat work at Eye of the Storm, and you've got some big news here with the show that you're opening.
That's right, we do. We are doing a production of How I Learned to Drive, a new play by Paula Vogel, which just won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama about a week and a half ago. So it's a very exciting news for us and for Paula. She's also, I just read in the paper the other day, she's the only something like the 7th woman or something like that to win the Pulitzer Prize for Drama ever. So
no, I would not have thought of that. I would have thought that'd be more.
Yeah, no, it's
out.
quite a big deal. Yeah.
Wow. Well, congratulations to her, obviously. And how do you land a play like that that's such high profile?
Well, we know Paula. We produced a play of hers in 1993 called The Baltimore Waltz, and at the time that we produced the play, she was also a McKnight Fellow at the Playwright Center here in Minneapolis. So it was kind of a happy coincidence at that point that she was actually in town. And so I met her then, and I was able to talk with her at length about the play and about our production. And she, at that time, kindly did several, press interviews for us. So we kind of got to know each other then, and had a big success with that play. She had a big success with that play as well nationally. It won an Obie Award, and it was produced all across the country, and it was a big hit for us as well. And then we've just kind of stayed in touch, and I've been, continuing to be familiar with her work. And as soon as this play opened, I immediately got a copy of it because of my relationship with her, and immediately knew I wanted to do it. And so at that point, we started working on trying to get the rights to it, and she is interested in us, in our company, and also we have a person working with us as an associate artist who is an actress in How I Learned to Drive, who's a former student of Paula's.
Oh, nice connection.
Yeah, so there's sort of a lot of circularity in that way. And so we talked to them about trying to perform it here this year, and she agreed, along with the New York producers, to give us the rights to it because she thinks that we're the right theater in Minneapolis to produce her play. So.
Well, now from press releases, I learned a little bit about the play. Actually, kind of a little touchy subject, no pun intended here.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of the hallmarks of Paula's work is that she's able to address difficult subject matters. For example, The Baltimore Waltz was a play about AIDS, but she has the ability to sort of walk a tightrope between what I would think of as humor as well as pathos, and each of those feeding the other without kind of trivializing either side.
I got the sense that there was a little bit, as you say, a light touch, but still with a little bit of a Lolita theme there, and
Absolutely.
I was thinking, interesting.
The play is about a young woman who's nicknamed Lil Bit. It's sort of a coming-of-age story, and it's also a story about her relationship with her uncle by marriage, which is a decidedly improper one. And Paula has talked about the inspiration for the play being that she read Lolita many, many, many times as a young student, and was fascinated by the novel and wanted to write a play from Lolita's point of view. I also think of the play myself. I mean, it's been talked about as a play about incest or a play about child molestation, and I believe that that's a very reductive, narrow view on the play. I think it's about much more than that. I think for me it has a kind of broader canvas in the sense that it deals with family relationships and the way in which we are both given gifts by our family as well as damaged by them, whether or not we've had some kind of a huge traumatic event like an incestuous relationship. I think we all go through situations with our family where we're either given wrong information or hurt in some way, and those memories stay with us, and as we grow older we try to find ways to forgive, to get away from it, and that kind of push-pull thing that happens with our families, I think, is very resonant in this play.
Find some resolution.
Absolutely.
And the play does that.
And I think teaches us the power and the difficulty of figuring out ways to forgive. Forgive both yourself and your family. I mean, I think that that's very much a part of it, because in this play, Lil Bit is very much complicit in this relationship as well, although by the end of the play, we are brought back, I think, to the original place where I think we would all come from, which is that, of course, as a young child, none of this can be seen as her fault. I mean, there's no sense of blaming the victim in this play. However, it's interesting because it's very complex and very layered, and Paula is able to kind of skillfully map all of that out so that this man who we want to hate, we actually end up feeling some kind of sense of sympathy for and understanding, and that's a pretty revolutionary and controversial.
So he's more than an archetype. I mean, he's something of a rounded character as well.
Oh, absolutely. Both of them are very, very dimensional, very realized characters, and their relationship is very complex, and as I think is true in life. I mean, I think that none of these situations are rarely black and white situations, and so that's one of the brilliances of the play, is her ability to sort of peel the onion back and back and back and back and reveal all these complex
layers. Sounds like a great show.
It's really terrific.
Casey, your company, Eye of the Storm, is one of the resident companies at the Loring Playhouse?
That's right.
And that's where you're doing this?
That's right. We are in residence there. We've been in residence at the Loring since 1993. In fact, Baltimore Waltz was the play that, after that was when we were invited to be part of the Loring Playhouse. So we share the space with Ballet of the Dolls, which is a dance theater company, and the Loring Playhouse Theater Company, which also produces work. Our focus is new plays. We have kind of a dual focus of doing plays like How I Learned to Drive, which are important plays on the national scene, or important writers or new voices that we are bringing to the Twin Cities and in most cases introducing to the Twin Cities. I think of the productions that we've done, something like 85% of them have been by writers whose work has never been seen locally before.
Wow. So that's a great service by you bringing those works to our attention here in the metro area.
And the other half of what we do is commission local writers, playwrights who are based in Minnesota, to write new plays for us, and we produce the world premieres of those plays. And then hopefully those plays have a chance to go out and be produced in other parts of the country.
Right.
So I think of it as doing a sort of, you know, that there's a bringing work to Minneapolis as well as creating work in Minneapolis and sending it out to, to the national community.
Casey, when's your show open?
First preview is Thursday, May 14th, and that we're doing a special program with. It's called a Pay What You Can preview. There's no ticket price. Patrons can literally pay whatever they want on that night. There's another preview on Friday, May 15th, which is $10, and then we open on Saturday, May 16th, and the play will run through June 13th.
Well, great. One last question. There must be a phone number people can call for tickets and info.
332-1619.
Okay, we'll get that up on the screen.
Great. Thank
Casey,
you.
thanks. Look forward to the show.
You bet.
All right. Now, artist Kjersti Monson has some amazing art happening up in northeast Minneapolis, and she'll also bring you tips on how to ride the Art of Whirl right after this. Stay tuned. And welcome back. My next guest is a multi-talented, kaleidoscopic artist, and I'm happy to have here Kjersti Monson. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. And you really, I mean, I'm not sure I can even rattle off everything you're involved in. Visual arts, you do three-dimensional things, you do, we're going to get into this thing down here at my knee a little bit later. You write, you edit. How do you describe yourself?
Gosh, it's difficult. Eclectic artist, I guess, a creative type.
Well, and you dabble in things, I mean, maybe dabble isn't the word, architecture. I mean, you've been working with architects. You help design space.
Yeah, I'd actually probably be more appropriate to say I do site research. I'm interested in landscape design and that sort of thing.
Okay.
I've got a garden project coming up, but that's as far as I've ventured into it.
Well, and that's another, yes, because I had met you and we talked about a lot of these other things, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, you're very much involved in, what's it called, the Logan Park Garden Club or something?
Yeah, the Logan Park Garden Club has a budget to do a new garden for Logan Park. And we've sort of divvied up the funds and worked on some fundraising to increase the budget, do a 15-foot diameter Victorian garden as well as a rock garden in the park, with plans to possibly, if we can talk the park board into it, incorporate water in the years to come.
Oh, excellent idea. And some of this I know is going to be at the, it's sort of what I would call the entrances or the gateways at the corners of the park leading in, and then more down by the tennis courts.
And also by the playground.
That's a great enhancement. Now, Logan Park is in northeast Minneapolis. Can you kind of orient viewers who maybe don't know exactly what part of town that is?
Sure, yeah. Northeast Minneapolis is just across the river from downtown, and Logan Park is at, I suppose, the two primary corners that people might know would be Broadway and Jefferson.
Yeah, those are good intersections to think about there. You're also involved, both as an artist, but I think you're also helping organize and promote Art-A-Whirl, which is a big deal. Seems to be getting bigger every year. What can you tell us about Art-A-Whirl this year?
Well, there's a lot going on. Art-A-Whirl is May 15th, 16th, and 17th, and there's going to be tons. There's an educational focus. There's going to be a lot of free workshops at Logan Park again. And my space that I helped to curate with my partner, Sheldon, is going to be hosting a few events. We're going to have puppetry with Dan Paulnow, and I don't know if you know Dan, but he does incredible work for Heart of the Beast and also has his own puppet shop. He performed in our space once before. Fabulous, fabulous guy. And also some film from Red Eye Cinema.
That's great. Before we go too far, where is your space?
My space is at the corner of Pierce and Broadway in Northeast Minneapolis. It's the Margaret Berry Settlement House, so it's a historic building.
Yeah.
And we have a gymnasium and stage where this will all take
And there are
place.
other artists in that building, am I right?
Yes.
Or at least one other.
Perry Ingley.
That's right, who's all very involved with Art-A-Whirl too. Just since we're talking about it, if people wanted to call and find out more about what's going on in your space, there's both a phone number and an email.
Yeah, we have an email address, at AOL.com.
Now don't do the other one because you'll end up in Montana somewhere.
That's really confusing. I'm really sorry. AOSOART at AOL.com.
A lot of vowels in there, so get your Scrabble game out.
And the easier way would be to call us at 379-0590.
So that's only 7 digits. Why anybody's messing around with the other? So that's your space, but Art-A-Whirl, as you say, 15th through the 17th. Last time I went, there were like 20 buildings, scores and scores of studios and spaces to get into. And there's a phone number for that as well?
There is. There's an Art-A-Whirl hotline, and that number is 257-7396.
Great.
They also have an email, a website, which will have all of the most up-to-date information, and that is art-a-whirl.org.
Org.
Yes.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. And we've been plugging Art-A-Whirl for the last 3 years, and I know even in last month's show, we had a nice little clip by John Aker from images from the first couple years. So that's a great event, and I urge people to get up there. But I want to talk a little bit more about your art. You were nice enough to bring a couple of examples, a few examples. Can you talk about what's sitting here behind us? Obviously, it's a two-dimensional, wonderfully colored image.
Yeah, this is a finger painting.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I'm looking at your nails here. Yeah, that's
there's
fresh.
not a single brush in use, and a lot of ceramic stucco and various materials to give it some depth. But painting is one thing that I enjoy a lot. I did this while I was living in New York, and I consider it to be extremely urban, almost map-like and city-oriented.
Oh, interesting. Now I'm getting a little bit of a grid now that I think of it that way.
Yeah.
Before that, it was like a Rorschach thing, and I saw a little kid trying to get out of a window or something, and it was a scary image. But
people see all sorts of things.
This wonderful. I really like the colors that you've done there. I hope our cameras can get in for a little bit of a close-up, just because the texture here and the way your colors juxtapose here. Just, for instance, the different shadings of yellow alone, you must have
it's
a palette of yellows up there.
Extremely diverse.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yellow.
Now, your training, formal training in the visual art side of what you do?
I would say my family. I did not go to school for art. I went to school for English, which is where the editing and writing comes into the picture, which is how I make my real money.
Right.
But the art, I have an aunt and uncle who are both artists in Duluth. My mother is an artist and
okay, so you grew
visual
up
art.
in the discipline, as it were.
Yeah,
Well, you brought some other images, too, of
yeah.
other kinds of visual, and I think one's almost sculptural, I might describe it as. Now, if you just hold that kind of still, right about there, I think our camera can come in. Why don't you describe this interesting installation over here?
Well, the text installation was my attempt at incorporating both the linear and visual kind of media. The text is not meant to be read from beginning to end. It's a very sensual poem. Lots of very colorful words, and you can either look at it as purely visual, purely textual, or some element of both, which it is. Most people tend to see single words pop out of the image, you know, pomegranate or wind. And the letters
Oh,
are
the
all...
old pomegranate.
Yeah.
All right.
The letters are all constructed out of various materials: carpet, photographs, Tampax boxes, aluminum cans, this sort of thing.
Some found elements then.
Right.
Great. Now, if I said Jennifer Bartlett, would you slap me or something? I mean, I'm connecting a little bit there with some of her idiom.
Actually, I haven't heard that one before. I've heard Jenny Holzer a lot
All right.
for that particular piece. But it's about 45 feet long and 6 feet tall.
Cool. And where is it installed?
That was at Ginkgo Coffee House in
All
St.
right.
Paul.
Now, this other piece looks like it's laying on the ground or in nature somewhere.
Yes, it is. And this is a piece, basically just found object piece, stones by the river. I collected these stones, and you can see that there's sort of a beautiful pink inner core.
Oh, I'm seeing it now, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
and that's a soft pink stone that I found also. I used to color that inside core and create a nest and put yellow pebbles inside and create a little bit of a temporary installation.
It is a nest, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did a lot of those sort of temporary outdoor pieces for a while, out in the woods. Just built something with whatever was there.
For people just to encounter?
Yeah.
Not part of a formal installation, but
Right, right.
some little Cub Scouts going by and saying, hey,
What's that?
wow. I like the discovery. That's cool.
Yeah, so that was
Very
there.
cool. And then you also constructed something here. Now, I've got to ask, is this typical, or is this just why don't you dangle that up there and let people know what this is?
I think it would be best, actually, if you modeled it. It's meant for the head.
For a skull?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what it was
My
woven
God.
for.
Here we go, folks.
So,
Yeah. Whoa.
there we go. This was a woven hex nut and copper headdress.
That sounds so formal when you say it. Hey, I think I'm getting Channel 29. That's pretty good.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it was just for fun, really. I was actually...
I feel fun right now. This
yeah,
is good.
and it's very heavy. It sort of makes you feel regal, doesn't it? That was the...
Yeah, it's a lot quicker to get to the ground wearing this
Yeah,
now.
and when I made this too when I was living in New York, and I wore it for a day.
Walking around New York?
Yeah, and so it was
What
sort
part of New York were you
introduced.
walking around with this on?
I walked around Manhattan. I was living in Brooklyn. but
Okay, so this was a Manhattan kind of
This was a
vibe.
Manhattan look.
That's cool. How did you get inspired to do this? I mean, you do that. I can understand that kind of thing. What's the inspiration here?
Well, I was really, it started out just as an exploration of texture, and I was playing around with these, you know, the bolts and the wire. I started to braid them together. I originally came up with the idea of doing a large curtain of this very tactile, beautiful surface, and obviously it's very heavy. I could not have done a whole curtain.
It's
it would have
pretty
been
good for Manhattan.
stable. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing this with me and the pictures and everything, telling us about Outer World.
Thank
Kjersti, it's been nice to have you on the show.
Oh, you too.
Thanks very much. Now, Janet will be back with screenwriter James Byrne right after 2 short videos that will be featured in the Midwest Film and Video Showcase. That's running May 1st through the 15th at the Walker Arts Center and also at Intermedia Arts. Now, the first video, directed by Heather Spielman, is called Mother. The second, Panasonic Chroma Puppy, was created by Seth Mabbitt. You're watching Artifacts on City Cable 34. Stay tuned.
The moment I told you, I knew you were upset. You had that look. You know, the one where you don't understand or can't believe a word I'm saying. Maybe I spoke too fast. Maybe I was too abrupt. Did you expect me to ease it on you slowly so you wouldn't be so shocked? And it's interesting to watch you squirm in your seat, and it's fun to see your face distort from that all too familiar neutral stare to a blur of confusion. You're sweet, little girl. You're sweet, sweet little girl. What has become of her, my baby child? And who is this ugly monster that sits across from me at the kitchen table? It's funny. You don't care. I don't care. For once in our lives, we share a common thought. You're oblivious to my pain. It's a shocker. So am I. And I know you'll never stop loving me. Your sweet little girl, your baby child. But all of a sudden, you've got this queasy feeling. You feel like vomiting ugly, ugly words all over the sidewalk for some stranger to pick up. That's called hate, Mom. Hate. It's just a phase. You keep telling yourself she's trying to find herself, and some demented pervert is leading my baby child astray. But no one's touched me, Mom. Deal with it. This is me, Mom. Stop being oblivious and stop looking at me like that. And you better hold on to your seat a bit tighter, because the best part is yet to come. There's a little more to come out about. Sure, we don't agree on the same things, but that's okay, because I don't like you, and I don't like what you stand for. Did that hit you hard? Good, because your sweet little girl is dead, and this ugly monster that sits across from you at the kitchen table is all that's left.
You just saw two works from the Midwest Film and Video Showcase featuring recent work by more than 25 artists and producers from Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, and Wisconsin, running May 1st through the 15th at the Walker Arts Center and Intermedia Arts. And now, I would like to welcome my guest, James Byrne. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Jenny.
Glad you could be here.
Glad to be here.
James is a writer, director, and also a teacher at Metro State University. You teach screenwriting.
I teach screenwriting, yes,
and that's
I do.
what we're here to talk about today.
Good.
First of all, let's just do the very basic question. What is a screenplay?
A screenplay, well, it's many, many things. First of all, it's the heart and soul of a movie. It's also a set of instructions to the crew and actors on what to do. It primarily, though, tells a story. It creates characters, and it's written in two different sections, more or less. There's the action part of a screenplay that tells the actors what to do. Stand up, run outside, whatever. Car explodes now, romantic leads kiss. And then there's a dialogue, and that's obviously the people talking. So a screenwriter is responsible for writing, telling the actors and director and how things are going, what's going on, and to give life to these characters through dialogue.
What do you think makes a good screenwriter? What kind of qualities do you need to bring to a screenplay as a writer?
Well, there's just like any other art form, and particularly writing, there's no way to predict that. I mean, there are some people I know who are completely opposite from the characters they create. Some people I know are, very similar to their stories. So that creative process is very, very unexpected. So, different people bring different things to it.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about that because as I enjoy writing myself, but I look at a screenplay and it's really, really different. It doesn't have the same form. It isn't written in the same way. It's not as literary. You don't have to. It's just very different. Yeah, it's a very particular kind of literary form, and it should be kept in mind that it is a literary form that's transformed into a visual form. And there are certain ways, a format, it's called the screenplay format, that has to be followed to write it in this way. And they do that for a couple of reasons, a very specific format. One, it becomes, if you want to let's take a look at this format, it's not like paragraphs on the page. Not like prose, it's broken up into action. These sections are the action, and this is a dialogue. It's indented a certain way. Now, it's a visual format, number one. As we read prose in paragraphs, we're used to those chunks of words. In poetry, we're used to lines.
That's a visual format. Screenplay, in order to read it, people are used to this format. So number one, it's a visual format. You know where the dialogue is, you know where the action is, and you can see the film happening as you read it. The other reason there's a kind of a strict format is because each page, written this way, equals 1 minute of film time. So when you write a 100-page screenplay, it's a 100-minute film. And that's very important in terms of budgeting and scheduling, and that's part of the information, the set of instructions that a screenwriter provides, you know, for a director. So that's some of the reasons why there's a particular format to this.
And if you're going to submit, if you do a work and you're going to submit it to someone who's going to read it, they need to see it in that form.
Yes, that's a professionally accepted, universal screenplay format, and it has to be written that way for people to understand it. That's the big thing. When you're reading 10 scripts a day, and you have to be able to read it quickly, and your eyes get attuned to that formatting, to the indentation, to where the characters are, to where the action is, to where the sounds are. Sounds are caps. You know, so these are all visual cues to understanding and reading the screenplay. And if it's not in that format, it's very difficult to understand. It's as if you took poetry and did not, you know, write in stanzas, and you wrote like 1 line per page. It's kind of hard. Or if you wrote a paragraph of prose and didn't follow put a line. So it's a visual thing as well as this technical thing of 1 page per minute.
So this is a craft that people need to learn, or it's part of the craft that people need to learn, and you're involved in some very exciting learning opportunities that are coming up. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, at Metro State University we are planning a BA in screenwriting, and it's planned to start in fall of 1998. And it'll offer a variety of classes in screenwriting, and we're focusing on narrative, fiction, film writing for feature films, but we also have opportunities for exploring writing in television, writing for corporate, and writing documentary. And this program is a baccalaureate 4-year degree.
The first of its kind?
Yes,
in the
the first in the state, and when it starts, it'll be the only one. And there aren't a lot of other, obviously, opportunities to study film, and particularly screenwriting, in Minnesota. So we're pioneering, and it's a long time coming for some institution in the state of Minnesota to have a BA in screenwriting or filmmaking. And if you want information on that, you can call 373-2733.
Mind to give the number one more time?
I hope you can see it on your screen. Grab your pencils. I'd love to be able to tell you all about the program, send you information. It's 373-2733.
And you've been working yourself very hard on this, and I congratulate you for
thanks. Yeah,
persevering.
It's been kind of forming for about 2 years, and I think we'll be ready to go in the fall. And if we're not ready in the fall, it'll start in January. But this coming school year, it'll get off the ground. So I'm hoping people interested in learning how to write a screenplay will sign up.
Tell me how other ways that screenwriters are supported in this state. What are other kinds of places people can go?
Right now in Minnesota, I think screenwriting is like the happening art form. And there's lots of indications besides my interest in it. Number one, there are several fellowships available to Minnesota writers. There's a Morrow Fellowship. There's a McKnight Fellowship for Screenwriters. There's also the Minnesota Film Fund Award, which is not actually a screenwriting fellowship, but it's based on a screenplay. And the Minnesota State Arts Board has a section, a fellowship for screenwriters that's in theater right now, but it's going to be split off maybe back into film and video or by itself. So there's a lot of support. There's also an organization, a membership organization called the Screenwriters Workshop, and they promote the art and business of screenwriting. It's a membership nonprofit organization, and they have classes. They have a screenplay reading series, which we co-sponsor. Metropolitan State University co-sponsors, and also the McKnight Fellowship winners, sponsored by Independent Feature Project North, has a screenplay reading series. So there are these reading series in which a screenplay is presented to the public with professional screen actors. It's a way to get the work out. There are fellowships and support for the individual work. And now we're going to have a BA in screenwriting. So this is all contributing. And this is also happening nationally. There are screenplay festivals now, like 5 or 6 in the last 2 years, that are being inaugurated and started just like a film festival, but it's just a screenplay festival.
You mentioned also another recent development that screenplays are available In bookstores?
Yes, a new publishing phenomenon. If you go to your favorite bookstore near you, most likely there's going to be a TV and film section. And look for a special shelf that's labeled screenplays. There are now screenplay sections in bookstores. So if you like Good Will Hunting, the movie, go to a bookstore. You can buy the screenplay and read it. It won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. You can read the screenplay. And in the theater, this has been happening for a long time. You can read a play, and lots of people did. It's a literary form, but not many people considered a screenplay a literary form, and now it is, and they're being published right along with the release of the film. So it's become a marketing tool, and it's just been a fun way to look at the film. So if you are interested in screenwriting, go to your bookstore and buy some screenplays. Yeah, because you know you'll see them right there on the page.
What do you think's driving this little bump that's happening right now in Minnesota?
I think just the general, you know, well, in Minnesota it echoes what's happening nationally, but there's an interest in screenwriting, maybe just as an outgrowth of the general growth of independent films. And the need and the recognition of the screenplay as a very important ingredient, the blueprint, the heart and soul of a film. So the screenwriter is getting more recognition. The screenplay itself is attaining a higher literary status. And what's behind it, I don't know, other than just a general development.
Tell me if there are people out in our audience that are watching and they got this movie and they want to write a screenplay. What kind of advice would you give to them?
I would say go to as many films as you possibly can, read as many screenplays as you possibly can, and remember that most screenwriters don't come to screenwriting from a literary background, from writing prose, from writing novels. You don't really have to know how to write in that way. It's a whole different process. If you're interested in films, if you think you're visually oriented instead of verbally, you can write a screenplay. It's a very particular way of writing, and it's very easy to learn the mechanics of it. But what you really do when you write a screenplay is you see a film in your head, and you write it, you're writing as fast as you can to keep up with your characters. You know, what are they saying? It's like a court reporter. And you write them down and they go, and so you're seeing this, it's a very visual, imaginative experience. I mean, much like writing is too. I mean, writers who do novels see their characters. That's not different. But you can come to screenwriting from all kinds of different places. You don't have to feel like you know how to write. And I'm a pretty bad writer outside of the screenplay format, but there's something about writing a film, writing images that I can do. So, you know, it works out. So they can come from all over, and then sign up for my program at Metro State University.
I think we have time to give that phone number one more time.
373-2733.
That's great. It's been such a pleasure learning about screenwriting and talking with you today. I'm really glad you could come.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And good luck with your program. And I think that this is an important part of the whole industry that we're trying to develop here in Minnesota, and a critical part. And again, congratulations for your work.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Okay, we've got Phil's next guest coming up, and he will be back in just a minute.
Well, I, for one, thought you'd enjoy a quote from Goethe, but one of our next guests thinks it's just a little too deep. So I'm going to introduce her right now, Linda Zornig-Andrews. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for being on the show. And she's with Zenon Dance, and we're going to talk about that. And Susana Tambutti. Thank you. Welcome.
Gracias.
These two women, and they're probably two of the more repressed guests we've ever had on the show, are working on it's a big deal, your 15th anniversary spring concert. Right. Linda, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what the concert is, and we'll go into details.
I just happen to have with me a poster about our concert. It's the 15th year as a professional company here in the Twin Cities, and we're really excited. We're performing at the Southern Theater. It's the first time we've been there alone. We were there last June with Ballet of the Dolls, Salome, and we're very excited. The show is dedicated to Susana Tambutti's works. A wonderful, very dynamic, interesting choreographer from Argentina.
And as you've been described, an international choreographer.
Yes, she's internationally renowned.
Right, and I know that Susana's been working with you over the past few weeks on workshops and things like that in addition to the concert.
We've had two community tango workshops, so Susana is also very much an expert on the tango. And her work, though, is modern dance.
Yes.
And it's very, very artistic, very theatrical. She has background as an architect, so the structure of her pieces are impeccable. Very interesting.
That's an interesting aspect there. So you take some of that training and spatially, is that what happens? Yeah, that's fine. So part of the training is spatially oriented from the architecture?
Well, in fact, you use the same word. You say, I am building a dance, to build a dance. No?
Fascinating.
So in a way, a choreography is just to build in time and space and give shape
Yes.
to some dream that you have.
Well, that's good. So when you were getting this architectural training, though, was there a battle, a war going on inside you? I want to dance, I want to do architecture?
Yeah, well, you know that I was born in a country where to go to the university is a way to change your social belonging. I mean, no, it's a way to progress. So my parents pushed me very hard to really get a degree of something. So I felt that I like to draw, I like the building, so I began to study architecture. But, you know, I was very young, so in the middle of it, I discovered that what I was really wanting was other thing, and that was dancing.
And that was, how'd your parents feel about that? Oh,
very
she's an
bad,
artist.
very
Yeah,
bad,
like,
I hated.
Yeah.
So I really finished my career. I got my degree,
in
and
architecture.
then, yes, I said to myself, I am free. I am free, yes.
Yeah, well, good for you.
Yes.
So, and I know tango is something you can do, although as you and I were talking,
Well,
that's not your main
I am
focus.
a tango lover. I mean,
love it?
yes,
Yeah.
I love tango. I go to dance just like common people in Argentina. I go to dance every week, and I really, I don't know, maybe that also I remember my parents dancing it, and of course it's something that is full of meaning for me. And well, but I really in dance, I used the feeling of tango. If you want to know, well, what is the tango, just make influences on my work. It's just, you know, some sort of tragic feeling and dark feeling that the tango has inside. So tango is, you know it as a very showy and sexual dance, maybe, but if you know the real story, the real thing about tango, it is always like something, a deep sense of lost inside.
Melancholy.
Yes, you can listen to the music, and also in the dance, it's a way of relating to your partner, but it's not like a happy ending Hollywood film, you know?
Now, and some of that flavor is in what's going to happen at the Southern Theater?
Very much.
Well, Linda, describe a little bit, if you will, sort of the outlines of this concert.
Yes, well, we're presenting 4 works, 2 duets and 2 group works. One work is called Ketiak, and it's danced on 9 benches, and it's to a Japanese percussionist. So the music is very, very driving, and it's 5 women.
Yeah, and the space there, just to relate to the space,
Yes.
it's like a labyrinth.
Yes, like a maze.
That's like the set. The set.
Yes.
The way,
It's like
the benches, the way
people
the
inside
dancers move.
in a place where they cannot go out. It's just coming to the beginning all the time, no?
Yes, and Susana uses these angles. I think her architecture, her training, she has a natural sense of how to use these props and benches. I think she's the queen. She's definitely the queen of props.
La reina.
Oh, my God. Every piece, we have all of these props, all these details. Everything is very detailed. That is one piece we're doing. We're also doing Like an Octopus, and that is kind of a deconstruction of a tango. It has some tango music in it. She works with Edgardo Rudnitsky, from Argentinian composer who does things with the tango. And this duet it is a tango. I mean, anytime 2 dancers get together and dance to each other in a very emotional, passionate way, it's a tango of sorts. So that goes in and out of her work. You know, but she goes way beyond that.
Now, ¿cómo se dice en
expands.
español octopus?
Pulpo.
Pulpo, sure.
Yes, and also we're doing another duet called Mysteriously, This Won't Happen. And it is a very, the space at the Southern, I think this dance looks good, and there's kind of a mysterious space.
That's a great
And
setting.
it is with 2 shirts that stretch, and it has to do with men and women relationships, and also the ideas of equality and strength. The pull, you know, between men and women. And
See, and they're not just, they cannot get rid one from the other. It's like a never-ending thing that goes all. It's like the tango in a way, no? It's like a story that you dance every night.
Yes.
No, in Argentina, the tango is a never-ending story.
We mainly do the funky chicken up here, so it's a whole different.
We are prepared for that.
Different story up here, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you've got an octopus in the show.
Yeah.
And what else is going on?
And
There's at least one other.
Yes, and the main thing that we've been working so hard on is a world premiere. It's called Certain Death, and it's a very large piece. Very complex. And Susana, do you want to speak about it?
This is about the traditional classical death in dance, like this dying swan.
Female death.
Okay, so these are characters within these classic dance.
See, I mean, I took just the scenes of death, of dying swan, Carmen, Giselle. So I am just interested in trying to make like nowadays, death can be an spectacle. Death is on TV, and you have this media.
Yes, it's glorified somehow.
Yeah. So
death is a spectacle.
Yes.
We watch it. We can watch it more on TV.
Oh, they're selling videos now of people.
You know?
Yeah, that's it.
So, you know, the paparazzi is in this piece.
Okay, so our good friends, the media, huh?
The media.
All right.
Yeah, so it's a very large piece.
Well, I have to ask, being Buenos Aires, how did you two meet? This isn't like in the back of the City Pages want ads or something.
No.
Well, in fact, it was through the American Dance Festival.
Oh, okay.
The first time I came here.
All right.
Then it was just, we are guilty
you just,
of the rest.
Yeah, no, I learned of her work through American Dance Festival, and I called them. I was looking at the time to expand Zenon artistically. I wanted to work with international choreographers. And so what happened is, I'll do a short history, but it's kind of funny. Well, I won't tell them the obscene part. But this, yes, we hooked up, and I saw her work, and I loved it. And I just called her in Argentina, and she could hardly speak English, and I don't speak Spanish, so we were struggling, and I was going in for a grant, for repertory enhancement grant, and I wanted to use her work. So I asked her to send her ID. She was excited. I sent her some tapes of Zenon, and I knew her dancers, and her quality was very high, and I wanted to get her. So we spoke kind of crazily, and then I asked her to send her ideas to me, and so she sent it in Spanish, and so I didn't have anyone that could translate, so so I called, we found a student at the U of M in Spanish and gave it to him to translate. And when I called him and said, now what does it say? He said, oh, I can't really tell you. I'm too embarrassed.
Oh, my word,
So, and
Susana.
I won't repeat what, and I said, oh, she wants to do that on the stage? It has something to do with chickens and
But
dancing.
I think that, you know...
I won't tell you.
No, the thing is that...
wrong translation.
Yes.
But it was so funny, because I had to send this in to
What, you sent it to a German student? I don't understand. He did the wrong...
No,
you mean you sent him other stuff as well?
No,
like a diary or something?
No. I think that you have to improve your Spanish, I think.
Oh, in
I mean,
students, yeah. Well,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, it was her idea for a piece that we were going to do together, but he wouldn't tell me much of the content. He was too embarrassed. So I said, oh, you can tell me. I'm a mother. I've been married, you know. I have 2 children. Tell me. But he wouldn't. But anyway, no. Anyway, we bypassed that. We did not get the grant.
Oh.
But we kept our relationship going.
Maybe because of the bad translation.
Yeah. Because of the bad translation. And so we kept talking, and so I decided to bring her in to work with a company. But before that, I went to Chicago, because the company Susana works with, she's co-artistic director of a company called Núcleo Danza in Argentina, and they came to Chicago.
Oh,
and I went there hoping she would be there, but she wasn't. But I saw her dancers and some pieces that I loved so much. And
what persistence.
Yeah,
I mean,
and so
very
and so she came in, and you know.
Now it's part of my year just to come here to Minneapolis.
A number of times.
4 years.
Yeah.
Yes, 4 years. So we built on the relationship and the dance.
4 different times. So I mean,
Yeah.
4 separate visits.
Since 1994 is when we started.
Yeah. Before I forget, when does your big extravaganza happen?
We open on April 30th, and it runs through May 10th. It's Thursday through Saturday at 8 o'clock, and then Sundays at 7. And the shows, there's nudity involved in the new piece.
Okay.
And so we're not recommending the evening shows for children, but we have a children's matinee the second Saturday, May 9th at 1 o'clock.
And I assume that will be differently dressed?
Yes. That will have, we'll have clothes on for the children's matinee.
Okay.
And it will be more a repertory from our children that we use, storytelling, and some excerpts from Susana's work.
Okay.
But you know, basically.
And now that we've gotten
oriented to
people just
children.
riveted to their sets with this description,
This is
there's a phone
wonderful.
number they can call if they want to get tickets?
Yes, the ticket number is 340-1725.
Okay, and that's for
So that's
this
the
particular
Southern Theater.
concert over at the
Right,
Southern.
and it's at 1420 Washington Avenue.
Yep,
Please
over in the
come.
West
It's-
Bank,
Yes, it's a
Minneapolis.
very, it's a extremely theatrical, dramatic, very riveting show.
Yeah.
And very different. It's the Argentinian psyche and mind at
Well,
work.
we've got a couple minutes left, and whenever we get someone who doesn't necessarily live in Minnesota, I always want to ask them this question. What are your impressions of the arts, or maybe just specifically dance in the Twin Cities? I mean, what's your take on it? How do you think we're doing here?
Well, I think that if I have to compare with Argentina, of course you have a lot of companies for my comparing with Buenos Aires, I mean organized companies, no? I think that here the audience is liked very much the jazz dance.
Yes.
And I think that also they like the kinetic aspect of dance.
The kinetic, the real
kinetic.
dynamic part of it.
See, so most of the shows I have seen are just in that venue. You say venue, no? It's
Yeah,
okay?
that kind of
road,
manner.
in that way.
That way.
And my impression is that, okay, you have very good dancers, and I have seen here some interesting choreography.
But maybe not the subtlety of the tango.
No, it's not a question of sutileza, subtlety. It's a question of, I think that in Argentina, we are in the theatrical, strong in the theatrical phase, how we face a performance, no? Maybe because of the influence of Europe.
Could
be. The Germans and, you know, and Europe, the French people are now really doing a lot.
Okay.
And the Belgians. And so probably it's because of that. And our dancers are not so well trained, maybe, in technical and singing as you have, these beautiful people. But they are training a lot in theater.
Okay. Well,
So
Susana,
it's a difference.
thank you for coming. Look forward to your show and presentation.
Muchas gracias.
Linda, best of luck and congratulations on 15 years. That's excellent. That's great. Now, the Twin Cities is becoming a hotbed for television program production. More than 20 programs that air on cable networks like the Discovery Channel, the Learning Channel, Home and Garden TV, and Animal Planet are produced right here in our own hometown. Here's an example you may recognize.
Jeez, poor guy.
I don't know, you had him last.
You can't say that. You're going to get in trouble. That's a really stupid joke, and I'm going to tell Mike.
I don't care. What's Mike going to do anyway?
Hey, guys. Mike, the title came up and it said Werewolf, and then Servo said, I don't know, you had him last. And I think that was a really stupid joke.
Oh, that's pretty funny. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I meant. I liked it. It's a good one, Servo.
Thank you. There should be a song about how loose their slots are, huh?
Ah, one of the lesser Estevezes.
And now the ladies.
Well, so far the star power consists of Charlie Sheen's uncle.
Are they jumping rope?
Last night, but the night before,
24 robbers come knocking at my door.
Jumping rope. Ah, the poor thing has TMJ. Look at
He filled her back. Building a better back for you.
Nelson, good one there.
Now, I knew it had Tony Zarandaz stink all over it.
Brought to you by the Ape in the Moon.
Featuring the Bulgarian Women's Choir rendition of Jingle Bells.
You know, there's just too much Zarandaz in this movie already.
The sugar mines.
They're excavating a tiramisu.
We found another stratum of ladyfingers.
We got the worst tree farm ever.
Well, that was a clip from Mystery Science Theater 3000, one of the longest-running locally produced television shows, produced by Best Brains and currently airing on the Sci-Fi Channel.
And to support the growing interest in Minnesota television production, Twin Cities ITVA and the Minnesota Film Board are sponsoring a full-day TV seminar on Saturday, May 30th. Plans are to discuss industry trends along with sessions on packaging and selling your show ideas. So, Phil,
hey,
you know that show. Cost for the full day is $85. For more information, call 332-6493.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah.
Now, before we close the show, a poetry reading by Michael Dennis Brown, who performed this selection during the Celebration of Minnesota Writers 5. That's 5, a program featuring the 1998 Minnesota Book Award nominees. It's a great poem.
Ales, and it's called Lamb. Saw a lamb being born. Saw the shepherd chase and grab a big ewe and dump her on a side. Saw him rub some stuff from a bottle on his hand. Saw him bend and reach in. Heard 2 cries from the ewe, 2 sharp, quick cries like high grunts. Saw him pull out a slack white package. Saw him lay it out on the ground. Saw him kneel and take his teeth to the cord. Saw him slap the package around. Saw it not move. Saw him bend and put his mouth to it and blow, doing this calmly, half kneeling. Saw him slap it around some more. Saw my mother watching this. Saw Angela. Saw Peter. Saw Mimi with a baby in her belly. Saw them standing in a row by the dry stone wall in the wind. Saw the package move. Saw it was stained with red and yellow. Saw the shepherd wipe red hands on the ewe's wool. Heard the other sheep in the meadow calling out. Saw the package shaking its head. Saw it try to stand. Saw it nearly succeed. Saw it have to sit and think about it a bit. Saw a new creature's first moments of thinking. Felt the chill blowing through me. Heard the shepherd say, "Good day for lambing. Wind dries them out." Saw the package start to stand, get halfway, kneeling. Saw it push upward, stagger, push, and make it stand. Standing. Saw it surely was a lamb. A lamb, a lamb. Saw a lamb being born.
Well, I thought that was enjoyable, and we will hear more from the Celebration of Minnesota Writers 5 event on upcoming editions of Artifacts. Now, at this part of the show, we sort of just talk about things that recently came into our mailbag. Once again, this time of year, mid-May, is Preservation Week. Preservation Week 1998, brought to you by the Heritage Preservation Commission here in the city of Minneapolis.
That's right.
They have a whole bunch of fun things. A few of them includes a Nicollet Island walking tour. Of course, there's going to be an awards ceremony and luncheon. Tom Lewis has a PBS documentary called The Interstates and the Transformation of American Life. So he'll be giving a talk on that during that week. And he'll also be speaking on his book, Divided Highways. So for those of you who are interested in those kind of issues, there's also going to be a warehouse district. That's the Minneapolis Warehouse District, a walking tour there. If you want more information about Heritage Week, call Kristen at 673-2996.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I've been on a couple of those events before, and they're really neat. And based on last month, when we did some poetry reading, I was inspired off the internet. Just a stanza from Ode in May by William Watson. I just thought we'd, keep it going. What is so sweet and dear as a prosperous morn in May, the confident prime of the day, and the dauntless youth of the year, when nothing that asks for bliss, asking a right is denied, and half of the world a bridegroom is, and half of the world a bride.
Ode in May. That was just beautiful.
A May thought. You like that? Now, speaking of things that were beautiful, what was that thing at the top of the show? The German thing? I mean, suddenly we were off to Saxony there. I mean, is there a story behind that?
Phil, it was total. I was sitting at my typewriter yesterday. It just happened. As a writer, I was inspired.
It's just got a little Germanic on us.
And not to mention the fact that it's just a little thing. My husband and I have been kind of doing that German accent.
The thing you guys do? You kids,
yeah,
I tell ya.
It's really fun.
Yeah, do you obey each other when you're into that?
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, well, folks, I just urge you, if you're not speaking German by now, grab your pens and your paper, because we're going to have the Artifacts calendar come up.
That's right, and always, if you have ideas for us that you think would be great for us to do on Artifacts, please call us at the City Cable 34 hotline, 673-2234.
And we've got some great guests lined up for next month, so until then, stay tuned. Watch Artifacts. I'm Phill Lindsay.
And I'm Janet Zahn. Thanks for watching.